New York City has always been blessed by its vibrant religious diversity. The city's countless faith communities generally live together in peace, but like all New Yorkers, they rely on the New York City Police Department to guarantee their safety, liberty, and security. We spoke with local religious leaders about their beliefs and traditions and their experiences working with the NYPD. In this brief video, we cannot explore all of the religious practices you may encounter while on patrol, so we have focused in part on faith communities that may be less well known or misunderstood by other New Yorkers. We hope a richer understanding of the city's religious life will help you work effectively with the diverse New Yorkers you protect and serve.
Religious leaders play a very important role in police and community relations. We're called to be the bridge builders, the one that's sort of like the mediator between community and the police. We're called to create harmony wherever we are, even in the midst of the most intense situations out there.
New York is such a great city with many different communities that it's even more important today than it was ever before for everyone to know what kind of communities exist in New York, who the people are, what do they stand for, and their basic principles.
Every New Yorker has their own sense of personal style, but in some cases, you can learn a great deal about an individual's religious faith and identity by paying attention to their dress and physical appearance.
Like with any faith community, for Muslims, you might not always be able to tell that you're interacting with a Muslim simply by looking at them. Muslims in New York are Arab, they're African immigrants, they're African American, they're Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Albanian, Turkish. Extremely diverse, look diverse, diverse skin colors, diverse ways of dressing.
Islam is a faith tradition and a way of life, rooted in the teaching of the Quran and the moral example of the Prophet Muhammad. The tradition was first brought to New York by enslaved African Muslims in the 17th century. Today, following the growth of the African American Muslim community, as well as immigration from throughout the Muslim world, some 600 to 800,000 Muslim New Yorkers worship at nearly 300 mosques throughout the city.
Here's a very important, aspect in Islam. As the man, he shows his obedience to Almighty God by growing a beard.
For women in particular, they will wear loose garments, long sleeve, long skirts, long pants, and they may also choose to cover their hair wearing a hijab. They may also choose to cover their face wearing a niqab. Women are asked to cover themselves with modest dress when they're interacting with males who are not their relatives.
Buddhism is an ethical and spiritual tradition that has no single definition of religious identity or membership. Some 150 to 200,000 New Yorkers, mostly but not entirely in the city's rapidly growing Asian communities, would describe themselves as Buddhists and participate in temple life. Many more, however, are guided or inspired by Buddhist thought and practice.
For me, a little bit research is very important. Because in a Buddhist tradition also there are many different countries in Asia and they speak all different languages, Chinese, but even like a Mandarin, Cantonese different, Korean language is different, Japanese language is different, and Tibetan language is different, Sri Lankans, everybody sort of speak different languages. There are many different Buddhist traditions we have, but one of the common core is this emphasis of awareness or so-called enlightenment.
Sikhism is a religious tradition rooted in the teachings of Guru Nanak and his successors, who built an independent faith community in the Punjab region of South Asia beginning in the 15th century. There are approximately 50,000 Sikhs in New York City, including a large population in Richmond Hill, Queens. The vast majority are Punjabi immigrants and their families.
So one of the things that is important to know about Sikhism is that it's the 5th largest religion in the world. There are 23 million people worldwide. We've been in the United States for over 100 years, so we are in every facet of society.
In most situations, when you see an individual wearing a turban, and I would argue in 99% of those situations, when you see someone wearing a turban, that person is a Sikh.
So this is the turban unfolded. So it is about 15 feet long and about 2 feet wide. An initiated Sikh wears the 5 articles of faith. We call them the 5 Ks. The Kesh, which is unshorn hair. Ganga, which is a wooden comb. Kada, which is the steel bangle. Kirpan, which is a mini sword, which is worn to think about defending people who cannot defend themselves or always doing the right thing. And then Kachera, which is an undergarment, and it represents self-discipline.
So going into a little bit more details about the Kirpan, because people always have questions about the Kirpan, and I'm sure the NYPD does as well. The Kirpan is an article of faith, similar to a small knife. It is generally worn in a crossbody strap called the gatra. It's very sturdy, it's very secure.
New York has been a center of Jewish life since the 19th century, and its Jewish population now stands at nearly 1.1 million. The city's diverse Jewish communities include a broad spectrum of religious and secular identity and observance. This video will focus, however, on the rapidly growing Orthodox and Hasidic communities of Brooklyn.
The symbols of Jews and what a religious observant Jew carries or wears is very, very unique, because you can have an observant Jew not even carrying a yarmulke, but he's still an observant Jew. You can have the same observant Jew carry a host of different items. It's a lot according to tradition, what your grandfather used to wear hundreds of years ago. So you have different prayer shawls and different yarmulkes, your curls or payas. It's a sign that you don't forget you're observant Jew, a son of God. It's a sign that you are living your life for God and doing God's work.